Okay, everybody, Gnome Backyard is up at Grandma Jean's today, and so many of you enjoyed her homemade fudge recipe, and so many of you are asking for her rice pudding recipe that today we have her rice pudding recipe for you. So Grandma Jean, take it away.
Well, hi there. I keep my recipes in this little box. It's not too big, but it's big enough. And here are a few of the recipes that I copied. Some are from my mother's handwriting. I had to write them over. And this is the rice pudding from the kitchen of Anna. So we can start. I'll give you a list of the ingredients first. We're going to need, of course, rice, water. We're going to have milk. We need our milk. And we will also need 2 eggs. Let's see, 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and a half of a cup of sugar. So it's very simple, and there are so many different recipes of rice pudding that you can put your own spin on it later. If you want to add raisins or something of that sort, you can experiment.
Cinnamon, people add cinnamon, don't they?
Pardon?
Don't people add cinnamon to rice pudding?
Yes, my mother, sometimes she would put cinnamon, sprinkle it on top, and sometimes I will sprinkle it on top also. So we may as well get started. First of all, we're going to need 3/4 cup of rice. It doesn't have to be exact. My mother, I would ask her for a recipe, and she would always say, a sprinkle of this, a dash of that, a drop of this. Well, it was never exact. So now let's see. Now we have almost 3/4 cup. Oh, that took care of the rice. All right, we have 3/4 cup of rice. We will need 2 cups of water. Okay, now we're going to put that on the stove. And we're going to put it, we aren't going to put it on really high heat. We're just going to put it on so that it can cook, okay? So we're going to leave it there, and we're going to boil the rice until most of the water is gone, till it's mostly consumed. So we'll do that now. It'll be a little while before it starts. Okay, now the rice is starting to boil. And I take my trusty wooden spoon and just stir it a little. Just go around it that it doesn't stick to the pot. Now, we have to wait until most of the water is gone from the rice. And then we add our milk. I don't know if I forgot to tell you, but you're going to need 1/4 of milk. That's a lot of milk. So I broke my Pyrex, my tall Pyrex cup. So how much is 1/4 of milk? If you remember from your school days, your measurements, it's 4 cups will be 1/4. So we have to put 4 cups if you have a small Pyrex container. And basically it's 1/4 of milk we have to put in. It does take a while for it to, you could keep an eye on it because you don't want to be off wandering around and forget that you have it on a stove. You don't want it to burn. I'll try to show you how we have to take the water content out because the rice is boiling now.
What other recipes do you have that you might want to share with us?
Well, I don't know what they would like. I don't know what they would like to see, but I came across a recipe. It's a potato casserole. A lot of people call it potato cake, potato loaf. And what you do with that is you take your potatoes and you put them through a little grinder. I call it my Mooly Julie. I don't know what it's called, but that's what I call it.
Your what?
My Mooly Julie. You put your potatoes
Okay,
in.
but wait a minute. Don't tell them how to do it now in the middle of the rice pudding video. But maybe could we talk you into doing a separate video with your mooey pooey potato loaf?
Well, it will be an experience. It's something that's different, and you might want to try something different if you're tired of making the same thing. But it's really simple.
Okay.
Most of my recipes are really easy and simple.
Like most of my crafts.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
there we go.
Exactly.
I knew I got it from somewhere.
Oh, yeah. But I'm not as crafty as you are. Now this is almost cooked down to the consistency that I want. Okay, it's down to the consistency that I want. So I'm going to add my milk now. And remember, it's 4 cups or 1 quart. That's a lot of milk. Now, we've got that in there. So we're going to let it come to a boil, a simmering boil. We can leave the temperature the same as we had it for the rice. We don't like to hurry anything up. The more time you take, the better it is, I think.
So this whole recipe takes approximately how long?
Well, I don't know. Maybe about 20 minutes. The cooking is what takes long. That you're waiting for the rice to boil, and now you have to wait for the milk to be almost consumed like the water was. So it does take a while. I'd say 20, 25 minutes, but you can be doing other things. All right, now we have cooked the milk down to almost the right consistency. It's just about all dissipated. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it off of the stove and set it aside. Now, in a separate bowl, we're going to mix 2 eggs. 2 eggs and a 1/2 cup of sugar. It doesn't have to be exact. And we're going to beat that. We're going to mix it. We're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. You only really mix it till it's well mixed. And then you add it to your rice pudding. And you're going to stir it in well. Just keep mixing it right through.
How many years have you been making this recipe?
Quite a while, quite a long while. Sometimes it comes out different than others. You can make something this week one way. Next week you make the same thing, it comes out a little different. You may use a little bit more of this or have a heavier hand on that. So, but it basically is simple. It just takes a while for the rice to boil. Now it's mixed up and we're going to put it in a dish. When I make my mother's recipe, I always like to use her dish. It reminds me of the olden days. This is a beautiful dish, and I have her whole set. So we just pour it into the bowl. Now, after that, I like to add just a little sprinkle of cinnamon on top. Not a lot, just a touch. You don't have to use cinnamon, but I just like to put a little.
Now, do you serve rice pudding hot or cold?
You can have it whatever way you enjoy it. I like to leave it get, I don't want to eat it hot. I like to let it stand because then it sets, and I like to eat mine cold. So I hope that you enjoy your rice pudding. The recipe, I believe I gave it to you in the beginning. I'll give it to you once more. 3/4 cup of rice, 2 cups of water, and 1 quart of milk. In a separate bowl, 2 eggs, a 1/2 cup of sugar, a teaspoon of vanilla. Beat it, mix it well. When the milk has been consumed, you add your milk into the rice pudding, stir it, and enjoy it. And that's the end of the story.
Well, thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. And don't forget, like my mother would say, a dash of this, a sprinkle of that. So don't forget to sprinkle today. Thank you.
Sprinkle gnome in backyard?
Oh, yes, I meant to say gnome and backyard, of course.
We'll see you, Grandma Jean. Thank you.
Bye.